Welcome back, everybody, to The Truth About Addiction. Today's interview is with a man named George Rojas, founder and CEO of Amare Magazine. It is George's mission to shine a light on new and upcoming artists, entrepreneurs, and businesses. He himself has overcome so many obstacles, including mental, sexual, and physical abuse, as well as addiction. George had a divine intervention at his lowest moment and saw the light at the end of the tunnel through his spiritual connection. And now he is living a life of service on a mission to help others fulfill their own life purpose. He lives a life of service and is now on the board of directors for Vive Recovery Centers and is the VP of a new publication called Serenity Wellness Magazine. He has created a business model that allows professionals to expand their network, grow their social media, and work with the best advertisers and investors possible. His expansive structure of celebrities and high-profile clients gives these professionals an avenue to promote their services and products to various networks and individuals. George is passionate about connecting people and creating change within his community. I'm so excited for you to hear this interview. Stay tuned.
So tell me what you need, and tell me where you bleed, and I will listen. I can listen. Oh, I will listen to you.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Truth About Addiction. Let me just start by saying, I'm not sure what the universe is trying to tell us, but it will be revealed, because I just tried to have this interview and I ran out of disk space, and then there was an earthquake, and George and I are just wondering, WTF? So this is going to be a doozy of a conversation. George, I am just getting to know you. I was invited to one of your events.
My birthday event.
The reason I went is because I heard you were sober and you started a magazine. I did not know you. And I thought, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I wasn't really invited by the person whose event it is, but I'm so curious. I love a story of tragedy to triumph. I'm a living testament of the same. And I'm so glad I went. I didn't even speak to you till the very end of the night. I wanted to make sure I went up to you and just introduced myself. And now you're on my podcast, and I'm going to be one of the lovely people featured on an upcoming cover, which is so exciting, and performing at your holiday event. I mean, just incredible, incredible stuff. So first of all, you guys, you never know, right? Just introduce yourself, say hello, stay open-minded to the way things can possibly work out, because usually it's very different than what we imagine. And George, I cannot wait to hear your story, whatever you want to share, from addiction to recovery, and how you have built this empire and navigating, as I'm learning now, this industry in a sober, mindful way, which personally I'm finding quite difficult. I got to step my recovery up right now. So George Rojas, please tell the world who you are and how you live.
Ooh, also a warrior. A wise warrior. Well, no, first of all, thank you so much for, allowing me to come and share my story and giving others a platform to inspire, empower others, like ourselves. We have to support, like in the meetings, they say, share your story, you never know who's listening. And, and thank you. And congratulations on your sobriety. I've had a chance to hear some of your story, and I look forward to having you on our cover for our 50 most beautiful, influential people, setting the standards high for women and men all around the world in the music industry, just in general, because our industry is cutthroat, you know?
Ooh.
So, but who is George, you know? Who is George? I'm just a regular human being, a guy with a purpose who is walking on this planet, trying to put his mark and help other people. I've survived some, you know, traumatic experiences, life and death. Just, you know, from Skid Row down to the streets to drug overdose, being stabbed, losing it all, gaining it back, and finding myself and reinventing the game, reinventing myself and finding my voice. You know, when you've been silenced for so many years, now, you know, I use my voice for myself, for others, and empower through Amare Magazine. But what do you want to know?
Here's what I want to know. So I'd love to hear your rock bottom. And I know, especially in my sobriety, again and again, that really isn't necessarily the physical bottom. I also overdosed and survived from cocaine, and that was not my bottom. My bottom is a type of spiritual bankruptcy that only I can feel. And when I do, it takes me to my knees in a way that propels me into change. And that has happened actually only in my recovery. I'm not one of those addicts that had an emotional bottom that made me desperate enough to get sober. I happened to be lucky enough to not relapse and have that happen before I went back out again and again and again and again in recovery. And so I think that's a very powerful starting point. What was your spiritual rock bottom that ignited the change?
So when I think of this question, I've just had so many rock bottoms, but like I said, there's so many rock bottoms, from the drug overdose to being stabbed, and I've been homeless, having it, but it's kind of a difficult question because there was this one day, and I will say the day that well, there's no rock bottom for someone who doesn't give a shit. For someone who didn't care, like I didn't give a shit if I die. I'm from the gangs. If you either live or die, you got to be in the gang. There's none of that. Every day, I don't know if I'm gonna survive. So every day was a rock bottom day. Like I put my life in danger. I seen people killed, people murdered, people that were cut up. It's all coming out in my book. I was a part and affiliated with organized crime, so I'm putting my life on the line every day. So I did that for 15 years. You know, started from the streets, learning how to cook meth at 13, selling drugs, doing lines at 10 years old till I was 25 years old, facing 5 years in prison, until I got out one day and I was still loaded. And while every time I went in, I was always loaded. So it was all rock bottom. It was all rock bottom. Like it was at the end of the day, my turning point, 25, facing 5 years, and I couldn't finish my Prop 36. For those of you that don't know what Prop 36, it's a program that when you get arrested, you either take these drug court classes and you do your AA meetings, PC 1000, Prop 36. That's what they have you do. But it's just another way for you to get stuck in the system, because most of us, it's very hard to accomplish and get sober because we need the proper treatment. We need the proper mental health therapist to come in. An AA meeting is great and amazing and it works, but you also got to work other steps. Your spiritual connection, you got to make sure you're involved with your community, yourself, your church, your group, making sure you're holding yourself accountable and doing everything in your work inside, making amends. You know, there's so much more work than just going to this Prop 36 classes. But I needed to do it. I felt bad when I put my mom through. My health was really deteriorating, from seizures to just losing my mind, turning 5150. And if you don't know what 5150 means, it means when you lose your mind and you got completely insane and you lost the reality of what's going on. So I just was giving up. So 25, I turned it around. I went into a halfway home. One of my so-called friends, who I thought that was gonna come and give me drugs, didn't come give me drugs. He came in and we're at a hotel, Whittier La Habra, Los Angeles area. And he goes, I'm not here to give you any drugs. I'm here to see if you're willing to get help. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm coming down. I don't want to get help. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm to be real. It's like, bro, like, I just want dope. Give me I want to smoke. That's what I want to do. I want to do a line or I want to smoke. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning and someone's coming up and I said, and I looked up in the sky from the hotel room. I said, maybe it's time for me to do something for myself. Ever since I've been high, I always met some of the most amazing people. They were crazy, but they were also some of the most amazing people, and they never saw their worth, their value. Everyone experienced some type of different trauma, or they were looking for love on the streets. Unfortunately, everything starts at home, right? So yeah. I was in that hotel. I just got out, and I really didn't have a direction of what I was gonna do. I kind of was already on the streets at that time. It was so hard for my mom. She was about to give birth to my youngest brother, and I decided, I'll make a change after so many times of relapsing. I didn't even call it a relapse because wasn't really putting 100%. I wasn't ready. I was so angry and like angry with everyone at the world, the family, for everyone who hurt me as a child, the molestation, the rape, just everything in general, the traumatic experiences that I endured as a child. But I said, I'm gonna do it. So he put in a call for me, spin serving people in need. And I would say that would be my day, November 7th, 2007, where when I got out, I was just tired. I was tired. I'm like, I am tired of the game. Ain't no real loyal people in the game. You got no loyal people. So I'm going to be loyal to myself. And you know what? My mother deserves to get some rest. I'm her oldest son. She got pregnant at 16. Fortunately, she was forced to get married into a very narcissistic family that tormented her, that were all rapists, and she was raped herself, and it was a very disgusting family, and I wanted to just like get my power back. So I decided to do it. I remember calling her and I said, Mom, I'm ready. I'm gonna do this for you, and I promise you, and I'm gonna do it for me, and one day I'm gonna take you to Puerto Rico to reunite you with your father. I really wanted to do that for her because her story is very deep too. They were separated, the boys and the girls were all separated, and I did it. I went to spin. I was already coming down. And for those of you that don't know what a come down is, it's the worst fucking feeling. Coming down, sweating. I hadn't smoked. I hadn't done anything. And I did it. I went and they approved me. It's in Orange County. For those of you that don't know what it is, spin serving people in need. So if you're watching, there are amazing programs out there. I also sit on the board of directors for Viva Recovery, which we're helping many with housing and therapy and stuff like that. So if you know anybody, want to refer, go ahead and comment below when you see this video, or share the video with someone that you think it can help them. But I got to throw that in there. But so I went to the program. I was in a 7-bedroom beautiful home in Orange County, Westminster. I didn't know what to expect. This tall white dude, 6'7" hippie guy comes down and his name was Dave. George, you ready to turn your life around and get your shit together? And I was just like, okay. But I was stuck in that room for days. It was hard to eat, sleep, shower, go to the restroom. I literally would shit on myself, the night sweats for a good almost, I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks, detoxing off of everything. And it just was the worst feeling that I ever felt. This is someone that was doing about $300 a day. I learned how to cook my own stuff. So I learned how to cook ice, from crystal meth to speed to crystal, but I learned how to cook ice, and my body was I was underweight, very sick. I couldn't hold the food down, restroom, puked a lot. It was a lot, and I needed to go through that. And the nightmares, just in general, the night sweats, and the guys would come take turns to check on me and literally 24/7 watch, because I was also very suicidal. And I had a lot of times where throughout my teens and growing up as a young boy, always wanted to commit suicide. I have cuts. I would strangle myself, cut myself with knives on my neck, slit my wrist. I have scars all over, or I would burn myself to numb the pain. So I have over 20 burns throughout my body to numb the pain of the trauma, the drugs. But the drugs I thought was helping, but it was just killing me softly. And I defeated it. And I would say That was the low point because I just didn't want to go through it. And I knew I had to, but the messages that I was getting from God and the angels all around, it was almost as if he knew I was ready and he lined it all up. The test afterward, the trials, the bumps in the road, everything was all worth it. And as you know, so I would say I'll stop there. I mean, that was a good, how do you say, break, like, downfall and pick myself up. But I didn't want to go through that. I didn't want to let go of the drug. I didn't. I loved it too much. It was such a great feeling.
Oh, I get it. I mean, yeah, and I think you said a couple things that are really important for the people listening. The first is that, well, you said two interesting things. One is everything was bottom. Okay. So there's that point, right? Which is like from the sober vantage point, you can go, wow, the life I was living was just, I was just being dragged, right? It was the worst kind of life. And yet you didn't care. You didn't care that because you didn't care about yourself. So you didn't care what you surrounded yourself with, what you put inside of your body, who you hung out with, what you witnessed. And for whatever reason, after you thought those drugs were coming through from your friend and they weren't, maybe the presence of your mother being a very bright spot, but also it sounds like something inside of you cared in that moment.
Oh yeah.
Something happened where
I always heard her in the back of my head. Everything from she tried so hard. All of her three brothers that suffer from addiction, alcoholism, all died in their 30s. 34, 36, and 38. They didn't have an opportunity to have children. Liver cirrhosis from drinking, a heroin overdose, and other cocaine, meth, and crack, and just mix it up. And then her sister. So it was, she saw her son that was into it. And I just, it's so sad because my mom, she turned her life around from domestic violence. She never turned to drugs. She got her degree and she just wanted to provide and give the life for us. And she would always give me cards and books with messages about God and put God back in. And was hard. She would go drive in the hood, no matter what, pull up with a gun or a knife, and where are my kids? Where is my son? Where is my daughter? No matter where we were, she didn't care, and she was respected because she wanted her children back at home. And she kept trying and trying until I looked and I said, I gotta do this for her. She gave us her life. I want to give her back in return what she deserves and what I deserve as well.
yeah, I mean, that's the moment. That's the rock bottom, that moment where it's so goddamn dark and we're so wounded, but the light seeps in. And I think that's a really important place to start. I also really relate to that because I came in from my then boyfriend, now husband, sort of finding me out, after years of just lying and cheating and just being this version of myself that I was so ashamed of, overdosing, hiding it from him. He discovered this bottle of prescription pills that I was abusing that my father was providing for me. And the shame that I saw reflected in his eyes that I felt about myself is what took me in. So not that I recommend that. I mean, I think it's wonderful if you have an internal soul level desperation that brings you into a place where you're like, I need fucking help now. I will do whatever. That was not the case for me. It would take a much longer time before I put all the swords down and I put my hands up and I went, I will do anything. I will do anything. That said, because there, for both of us, was this external force, right? This thing outside of us that we could see loved us so much that we really wanted to make proud. I'm going to then follow up with this question, which is, you get sober and there are so many moments where it's just you. There's no outreach call. There's no community. It's you and God and all your fucking trauma. Mom's not there. And all this stuff that you lived through is coming up. All this horrific shit that you've been anesthetizing with drugs is coming up. And so in those moments, especially early on, I don't know that they ever fully go away, right? PTSD is a thing that lives in our nervous system that we have to truly reprogram through a ton of therapy and 12-stepping and all kinds of stuff to have it be less intense and less frequent. That's my lived experience. I'm not sure if it ever goes away, but in the beginning, it's like right at the top of our throat, right? So if you're sober now, and the large reason for your sobriety is to make your mother proud, but you're not so sure how you feel about yourself yet from everything you've internalized, right? All the shame you've taken on about what's happened to you and whether it was your fault. What's happening in those spaces in your early recovery? You're alone. You have all these horrible memories, all this trauma rising to the surface. You don't yet have a lot of tools. Your normal default is to get high or to self-harm. What do you do?
Good question. I'm going to go straight into it. If I want peace for myself, I got to forgive. I got to forgive. And what I did, I forgave all those 13 men that molested and raped me, all the family members that turned against me. I had to forgive them. And I ran into them later on in life during my recovery in certain places in life where God put me in tests. And I got to look them in the eye and said, you know what you did and you raped me. And they asked for forgiveness. I said, may God forgive you. But you know what? I forgave them. And I forgave them because I knew I had a bigger purpose. I knew that people kept meeting me. And even though I was in recovery, people were drawn to me for some reason, or my light or my story, my presence, whatever it was. But I wanted to have peace with myself. In order for me to have peace, I got to forgive. And I forgave them. And so today, and that's why I am where I'm at. I forgave because I want peace. I want love. I want to welcome. They already took what they need to take from me. I will no longer allow you to take any more. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that peace for myself and my new relationships, my friendship, and my business. And that's where, like, if something goes naked, like goes to the left when it comes to an employee or a business venture, I'm going to bring peace with it. I know how to resolve it so I can continue on to what's next for me, because you cannot block God's blessings, baby.
Okay, I love this. So, no, this is really fucking important. First of all, I'm pretty sure.
I can see you going, yeah, you're getting all, you're like, yeah. You're like, this bitch is bringing it, yeah.
I love it. So here, okay. First of all, I am a sober woman raising children in this world. And it is my personal fucking opinion that forgiveness should be taught in school, but it's not. Critical life skill, because resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. So, however, for me, and I want to hear about this for you, because it sounds like there's definitely a God in your life. And I don't know if you struggled with that at any point, especially as all this trauma is rising up, where the fuck was God? I don't know what that was for you, but for me, there was no God growing up. God was for the weak, for the suckers, for the stupid. And so I come into the 12-step programs and it's all about God, 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 God. And I'm like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I'm fully self-reliant. I was taught to be self-reliant. And also I have an inner perfectionist that's like, bitch, do better. Be prettier, be smarter, be thinner, never enough, never enough, never enough. So the idea of forgiving anybody, giving it to God to help me forgive, was impossible. It was impossible based on my upbringing. It was impossible based on my hard wiring. It was impossible because I had never.
It was impossible. It was impossible because I'm going to go in. I think it was impossible because you made it impossible. Because Absolutely. as you get older, my mom always taught me, are you always going to have excuses for why this happened to you? Because we could walk around with having excuses, or you could turn it into power and be a wise warrior. Be wise. I have certain people that I'm looking at. I'm like, are you always going to cry about the same situations? Are you going to do something and find your strength and see what the main purpose, your purpose is? Taking care of your children, making sure you can't blame because you had a messed up. No, you have the power to get your power back. At a certain age, People like to blame their parents or whatever. I'm not blaming nobody. I'm blaming myself. I'm
Yep.
taking full accountability, and I want to grow and get wise from it and help other people. So I can either stay stuck and figure out, oh, I didn't have God in my life. Oh, I didn't know how to forgive. No, 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 no. Like we carry this intuition. We know what's right from wrong. Everybody was raised what's right from wrong, right? So I mean, that's something where I know what's right from wrong. I decided to choose what was easier. Well, that was wrong. I chose what was easier, and that was the path that created toxic, dangerous, very bad situations, right? So now that I'm older, in my 40s, and then going through a traumatic experience, which I want to say is like a death, which is divorce. After being married to an amazing guy, unfortunately he has his own things that he's going through, and I try to be there, but I you can't help no one that doesn't want to help themselves after 15 years and going through a traumatic experience. Now that triggered some old George, and we can get in that to another day, and that takes you back onto what I was used to going back to, and that's where the real tests at this present moment. And I needed to go through certain situations to realize, do you want to go back to who you were, or do you want to continue with your purpose and what I have planned for you? And I was stuck in these last 2 years, but I continued therapy and rose above. And I was attracting what I feel about myself. It was a very hard, traumatic divorce, like going through it, because I had to feel everything. And, there's 15 years and you miss. And like, I use that as an example because it's so easy to go back. It's so easy to give myself excuse. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I don't want to do it. I'm going to go do me a line. I'm going to get high because I could get it. No, anybody can get any drugs anytime they want, but it's learning to deal with real life situations, financially, spiritually. We grow, we're getting older. I'm learning, adapting to, I'm in my 40s. Shit just flew by. And I'm just like, I thank God for everything, all the blessings. But I don't like to live in excuses. I'm the accountability fucking king. Take accountability, bro. The quicker that you can accept your part in all this situation, the quicker that you'll get to see the results and get to your next step. Because what you're only doing is depriving, and you're keeping yourself in this box. You're caging yourself from getting to where your potential. You're doing it to yourself.
I have so much to say. So what's really fascinating about this conversation is that I am a big science nerd. And as you know, my book is a self-help memoir, and it's all about rewiring the brain-body connection to get out of a place of trauma and pain and victimhood and into a place of power. However, in writing the book and in all of the literature I read, I'm such a spiritual junkie. I have a stack of amazing books on my nightstand at all times. What I want to say is that in hindsight, when I look at my story, when I look at my ability now to do what you're saying, to forgive myself, to forgive others, to take accountability, to do this quick, 24-hour check of what did I do well? What do I not have power over? What do I have power over? What am I grateful for? What could I do better? Now it is second nature now, but I, like you, learned, at these tender ages, things got coded into me about how to survive. I survived by not forgiving myself. I was trying to be in the industry. You better try harder. Try harder, Samantha. I survived by being highly self-reliant, by getting A's, by being performative, by being a people pleaser, by molding myself. I literally acquired love and acceptance and safety through those things. So the reason why it's been so hard, why it took me so long to go, I forgive you, Samantha. I forgive you, X, Y, and Z, husband who had a 5-year affair. I forgive you, mom, for being drug addicted and emotionally abandoning. I forgive you, dad, for enabling my entire family. I forgive you, Jessica, my sister, for doing drugs for 2 decades and then dying and leaving me here to figure this shit out for myself. I forgive you. Now I know how to do that. Now I know that's the way of peace and power. But I learned the opposite. And my nervous system literally only knew how to operate a certain way. And to truly fucking change and to trust that the power is in the forgiveness required practice of a brand new way of thinking and coping. And so I just want to put that in there, that it's like you, George, are now sitting on the other side of a process of rewiring. It is easier for you now at 40 something, knowing what is accessible to you through the lens of forgiveness, all the things that have come flooding in, to say, I'm sick of the victimhood. I'm sick of this. Just get, like, stop it. But go back to 13-year-old George, 10-year-old George that was doing lines. That George would not have heard the message this George is saying. You could not hear it. You knew how to survive by being angry, by self-harming, by being fucking pissed off, by holding resentments, by snorting lines, by, you wouldn't have heard it. And now you can hear it because you know there's another way. You found that light, which so many of us never fucking find. It is so hard to remember how fucking bad it was and how unable we were to change when we were stuck in those subconscious patterns, right?
When you're older,
I just want to hold that space, right? For the people who are like, I am terrified, I'm suicidal, I'm not well. And maybe there's some light inside of me that I can believe is going to be bright enough one day to change my whole life and the whole fucking world while I'm at it. But right now, I can't get out of this loop. And that loop is real. That loop is real, and it's there for a reason. You had to form it to figure out how to stay the fuck alive as a young child. But there is another way. So I am always of the camp of like, find the compassion and the humanity, remember where we came from, and also why we are holding on to these patterns. There's a real tried and true science and understanding. And also there is a real way out. And it is not just a move on, guys, find your power, find your purpose. It's nuanced. It is fucking complicated. And there just has to be grace in that process, in that messy middle, because you and I can make a really good case of what is possible, right? If I, think about the beginning of this year, George, the beginning of this year, less than a year after my sister overdosed and died, I had all these plans for my life. I was going to maybe do some real estate, join a team. And okay, it is November something. It is the end of the year. I don't touch real estate right now. I went on tour as somebody's choreographer in Japan at 40 with 2 fucking babies at home that I thought I'd never do in my life, that I've always wanted to do. I'm recording music and performing in LA and Vegas. I wanted a record deal when I was like 21 and was like, well, those days are done. I mean, my life looks unfucking believable. And I could just spout off at the mouth about my access to real power. And I have it today. And I'm so lucky. But I also want to be really honest and sincere about, for me, what it fucking took to get here and what it takes. And you and I are the lucky ones. We could have easily been dead again and again and again, dead, in jail, in an institution for life. And we're not. And we're not, right? So I'm curious to know what you have to say about that, because I know, like, when you're on the other side of it and you know how good it can be, you just want to give that to people. You just want them to fucking see it. You want to shake them and be like, God damn it, I know where you are. I've fucking been there. Get it together. Life's too short. But for those people who can't quite see it yet, what do you have to say to them?
surrounding yourself with positivity, surrounding yourself with people that believe in you, people that love you, but also loving yourself. Everyone could tell me, oh, go do this, go do that, but you have to really find it deep in your soul to want to make that change. You got to want to take that first step to take, I have a problem, whatever your addiction is, whatever that's you're going through. If it's not addiction, if it's sexual, whatever it is, we all suffer from different mental health, depression and anxiety and stuff and trauma, but not just addiction, because there's so many things going out in the world. But you got to really find it in love yourself, believe in yourself. I had to rewire my brain, find my higher purpose, find where I feel comfortable hearing the word of God, the scriptures. I go to an amazing church and I feed off the message. I live for what's next. What is God going to tell me next? I have a team to lead. I have a family to be strong for. I have myself to take care of. I have a new, partner that is amazing and I want to be strong for. I want to, one day I want to be an amazing father if God allows, but you have to really do the work, rewire your brain, love yourself, respect yourself, and be real with yourself. You got to be real with one before anything, because if you don't love yourself, you're not capable of loving anybody else.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And I'm curious, of course, there's been so much for me in my recovery that has pulled me back. And I could list 1,000 behavioral slips. And I'm talking about not small things, things that
it's like personality traits that we pick up, and those personality traits become us. So we have to, pick and choose.
It's like slaying dragons.
Yeah, we have different sides to us, pick and choose you on. We got business side, we got, you have your mom's side, you have your artisty side, which is like your alter ego, and you have to perform and be in your element. And then you got your author side, you're a writer, you got to be mindset. You got your wife, and then you got the other side. Bitch, you want to bring it? You want that side? Because I'll bring it. What side do you want? Pick and choose.
Oh God, yeah, right. So I mean, certainly, for whatever reason, even to this day, I'll have, God willing, 15 years sober at the end of February. I don't know how, to be honest, I haven't had a physical relapse, because I've had 1,000 behavioral relapses. I have been on the brink of an eating disorder. I have been on the brink of toxic codependency that's brought me to my knees. I've been on the brink of, straying from my marriage because it seemed like life would be a lot better over there, even though I'm so fucking happy. I mean, the level of insanity with all the tools, all the time, all the therapy, all the 12 steps that I have gone to when something new happens, like you talked about grief with your ex. Nothing has brought me to my knees, spiritually speaking, like grief has. And I'm wondering the depths of that for you. What did that level of desperation when the marriage was falling apart look like? Like, how bad did it get?
Oh, it felt like death. But my thing is, like, I went back and I did evaluation on things that I wish I would have done differently. That I can do different now. Not everything deserves a reaction. Be careful with your words, because words do hurt. How my selfishness, what I was doing, and it goes back to the very one thing that we both did, and why we're like this is because we're surviving. We're trying to figure out ways to survive. And so our coping mechanism goes back to our behavior patterns and what we're so comfortable knowing. And, we don't mean bad, but sometimes, we're imperfect, and there is not one perfect person. And, I make mistakes, you make mistakes, but, it takes a person to see their fault in it. And, I wish I would have reacted and done things differently in business, in my personal life, and my mental health, just in general, because, I wish I would have, but And you go back to that comfortable, badass George, the George that don't give a fuck. You tell me something, I'm gonna come at it. That Puerto Rican strong gangster guy that wants to, and being a gay Latino, I had to go through other things. So I had to open my mind. If I was gonna be gay, I gotta be strong. I didn't want to let myself, so I didn't want to be bullied. I gotta figure out, being respected in industry, being a publisher of a lifestyle publication, and people are always watching you now in the public eye, being interviewed, being on television shows, doing all this. My life is in the public eye now. People are watching. When I host an event, people are always keeping an eye on me, or recording, or doing something, or you got to be careful because people are out there maliciously. Now how I react to that, you got to remain calm. You got to really think about the situation before you react to it, and think, does this fit into my life? Does this person still, deserve to be a part of what I'm doing? Or you place them accordingly where they should be left. And sometimes silence is your best friend. And that's something hard for people like us to do sometimes, because I'm like, no, I don't want to be silenced. I've been silenced all the time. You're going to fucking hear what I have to say. But, no, you don't always have to be right. You don't always have to have the last say. People are all going through things. So God has a way of humbling you. And if you're bragging what you got, God can give it, God can take it. Humble yourself and give it to God. So, and God had a way of humbling me in certain situations, of the certain men that I started dating, after the way I was going about certain situations and how I was handling things in certain investments. And he humbled me, all right. And I had to learn, and I will take it, and I will learn from it and grow from it.
I love that. So it feels like at the heart of your recovery is your connection with God.
Oh, 100%. My spiritual side, definitely connected. There's a lot of the new generation. I was hearing one of the pastors yesterday's service talk about the new generation, how they don't really, there's a lot of people that don't believe in God, or they are not in touch with their higher power, and they're open to it, but they don't know. It's just and we do need to talk more about God in school, talk more about God, and Tilly, instead of putting false history or things that didn't happen, what we learned, we didn't really, I feel like we were robbed in our education. But unfortunately, education start teaching how to survive, how to treat others, how to how to grow a business, how to let's if you're on education, how to do things like this and speak about your feelings, and talk about things, because I think a lot of things could be prevented with the mental health rate of people being suicide, drug attempts, murderers, right? Just everything. There's just so much sickness out there. We're not really now we're discussing it, and I'm happy that we're discussing it, because we need to talk about it. We need to talk about what happened in that household with that little girl, that little boy. We need to talk about your shortcomings, your talk about it. Men in power. I did my men's issue, and it was such a powerful issue because it is so hard for men to talk about their feelings. Men that have money, men that are multimillionaires, billionaires that are my friends. It is so hard for them to show a little bit of weakness, because if you do, then you're considered a weak man, right? But no, you're a strong man for discussing your weakness. So share, for all my men out there that are going through things, talk about your feelings, speak your feelings, be true to yourself. Don't hold back, because those are the things that it makes it harder in what we do. We have everything on our shoulders, have to be the strong ones. Nah, and for the women out there that are going through, don't know how to walk away from a relationship, like you mentioned, being attached to something or someone, learning codependency is very huge, especially after COVID. I feel like a lot of relationships and a lot of people went through a lot. COVID definitely changed the world in so many ways, and exposed a lot of things as well that we have to pick up. And here we are today. We are the survivors of this pandemic that happened, and right now it's destruction of everything that's going on. All these things that are happening out in the world that I personally feel the government is putting out there. So it's distractions of what's really going on, and we need to stick together and be there for one another, empower, support each other's businesses, and surround ourselves with positive people, and believe in God, believe in our higher power, because we're all going to die one day. And when you die, where do you want your soul to go? Do you want it be at peace, and love as much as you can, because you never know. You lost a sister. It's not guaranteed. So forgive and love. If you feel like you can't have that person, fine. But make peace with that situation, because we could be here today and gone tomorrow, and you won't get to hug or say goodbye. So check in on your strong friends. Check in on your friends. Check in on people. It's the holidays are coming up, and I hope this gets released before the holidays, because we're all going through something different, where there's drug abuse, alcoholism, sexual abuse, just whatever traumatic. But check in on your loved ones, your strong ones, your friends, the ones that are out there that are showing off to be strong. You just never know. Just say hi, how are you? It's just be kind. Be kind to others, because a lot of people are going through worse situations out there.
Absolutely. And I know you have to run, but I want to say just a couple things. That first of all, I have a tattoo on my back. I waited till I was, I don't know, 36 to get my first tattoo. And I'm really glad, because it says vulnerability is my superpower.
Amen. I love that.
That was right after I lost my dad, but before I lost my sister. And it couldn't be truer in general.
Right.
Also, I just think vulnerability is a superpower, period. So, and also there's tons of research on that is the way of true love, connection, and belonging. I mean, you can just read the literature. There's proof. So really what men and women, men for sure, are coming up against is the cultural conditioning of toughness as strength. And really what that does is separate us. And I think that's what you and I at the heart of the matter with what we're doing in our lives and our businesses is what we're trying to come up against, right? I mean, I have this podcast, I'm writing my book, I'm doing my art as a way to sort of shout from the rooftops, yes, you can. Show it all. Show it all.
That's why I got courage. I got the tattoos, courage and strength, because I found my courage, my strength to find the willpower to make a difference and to do it for myself. But it's one of the reasons why I have Amare, is why I created Amare Magazine. We didn't get into that, but I created Amare Magazine. Amare, for those who don't know, it means love, to love in Latin. And when me and my ex-husband created this, we wanted to create a company that were able to share people's story, but also give back to our communities. So we've been doing this going on 7 years, working on our 21st issue. And we have worked with some of the most amazing celebrities, talents, entrepreneurs, philanthropists around the world. And it has impacted hundreds and thousands of dollars from hundreds of thousands of people all around the world. And I'm so thankful and blessed that we were able to create Amare. And now we're expanding to different franchises, to different states around, that's going to do an impact. And just now we have a podcast coming up as well, which I'm really excited. And we just filming for different TV shows, but getting these events together, bringing people together, it's who and surrounding yourself with people like ourselves that will support and empower and see the bigger picture, and be humble enough just to, come together. But, thank you so much for allowing me to come on your platform and this podcast to share a little bit about my life, my recovery, my journey, my little secrets, my shame, and turning into success. You just never know what has gone through. So, and congratulations to you, because I feel like this is just the beginning for yourself. There's a lot more that 2024 that we're both going to accomplish. So I have a little homework for you.
Ooh, what's that?
I want to see your vision board for 2024.
That's so funny, because I just, not that it's a vision board, but literally the other day wrote out in my phone all the things I want to achieve for 2024. Yes. So it's already like, I mean, I'm talking about, I can see my life at this time next year, and it's unfucking believable what's on that list. I mean, the book tour and going back to Japan, but to actually perform there. I mean, it ranges. A retreat in Malta is something I'm planning with my publicist right now, and pitching what we're doing to networks. Crazy. So that is fully going to happen. And same for you, which you probably already did one. But I just want to say, like,
I'm doing one this Friday. I have a group of friends that we're going to be doing them together, like a vision board friends party, like a Friendsgiving, like everyone get together and do that. But I did want to say to your followers and my followers, whoever's watching this, when you're in recovery, and whatever it is that you're recovering off of, even if it's like you're dating the wrong person, like you said, it's rewiring your brain. But you also got to replace those bad habits with healthy habits, whether it's fitness, whether it's reading, whether it's writing things down, leaving notes on the mirror for yourself to reflection. You can read it, replacing it, hiking, go to the ocean, taking walks, going to prayer meetings, or just or certain circles, whatever therapy. Replace it with something positive, changing those habits, the thinking, your negativity, reprogramming that, and saying, instead of I can't, I can. I don't know, I will. And I things, just replacing all that helps. When you wake up, I can, I will. If you're procrastinating, change that around. I'm going to get it done today. It's going to get done this morning, so it gets checked off your list. And and making sure, I'm the kind of person that likes to have a clean environment, buying myself some roses in every room, having certain things that make me feel good and amazing. So I like sunlight, taking little walks here and there, breathing, nature, meditating, doing all those things. So start getting in the habit of those things. Don't get stuck in the same reoccurring patterns, because you continue to go through until you have learned what you're supposed to learn.
Yep. And I will close also just by saying that, we just touched on vulnerability, and the bottom line for both you and I is that as a direct result of us being vulnerable, and by vulnerable, I mean sharing the truth about our lives, especially the hardest things that we had the most shame around, is exactly what has given us this big, beautiful life that we now have. So if anybody's looking in adoration, but how? But I don't understand. The very first thing that you can do is tell the truth. First to yourself, and then to someone you deeply trust who's earned the right to hear it. As soon as you start doing that, the shame starts to dissipate, the light comes back in, you build a little bit more self-worth, and then you're on your way to building the life of your dreams. So we are a true testament to the power of vulnerability and transparency.
100%.
Thank you so much for this conversation. I'm so glad it worked out.
Thank you. And God bless you in your journey. And may God continue to guide you and the direction that he wants to put you on. And I'm very thankful that we'll get to celebrate the cover release. I'm excited for those of you who don't know where to see Amare Magazine. Go to our page, Amare Magazine, or www.amaremagazine.com. And how can people find the podcast?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's going to be on all the streaming platforms. So if you just punched in The Truth About Addiction, you will find this episode once it's uploaded. And it will, by the way, be uploaded before the holidays, because we all need this before the holidays. And also,
and I would love to invite you on our podcast when we're up and ready. We love to have you.
Oh, good Lord. I love me a good conversation, George. You know that. So count me in for sure. And the video will be on Instagram at Strong Heart Fitness, and also on my YouTube page. And I'm going to have all the links. So it will be wildly accessible, and we're going to promote the death out of it when it's ready.
Do it. Yes.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have an amazing day.
You too, love. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
I wanna help you, but I don't know how. I wanna guide you, but I can't figure it out. So tell me what you need, and tell me where you bleed, and I will listen. I can listen. Oh, I will listen to you. You seem so stuck there, holding on to some old story, still going strong. So tell me what you did, can tell me how you lived, and I will listen. I can listen. Oh, I will listen to you. Where can you go now? Can I keep you from falling down? If you just keep floating, you won't drown. There's a knowing that can be found. If you listen, can you listen? Oh, I will listen to you. There's a voice deep inside you that will be there to guide you. So tell me, what do you hear? Can you quiet your worst fear? If you listen, can you listen? Oh, I will listen to you. Where can you go now? Can I keep you from falling down? If you just keep floating, you won't drown. There's a knowing that can be found. If you listen, I can listen.